I don't know. Does anyone want me to do it again?
They asked me to do a season 2, and they offered me half the money.
Neither Captain Marvel nor Hawkeye were having it with Disney's number crunching and terrible pay. Little did we know that MGM Studios was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Now we've received damning information that might ruin Disney and end the cinematic universe. Stay tuned. The Great Exodus. It's done. It's finished. The House of Mouse just got burned to the ground by the very same heroes who once made it a box office empire. The stars who built the Marvel Cinematic Universe brick by brick. The Robert Downey Jr.'s, the Chris Hemsworths, the Scarlett Johanssons have just walked away from Disney in a deal that is nothing short of a declaration of war. We're talking a staggering $800 million deal with MGM Studios that now sees the biggest names in the superhero genre launching a rival cinematic universe without Disney. Let that sink in. Marvel's biggest stars are now ex-Marvel. This isn't just a business decision. This is a revolt, a rebellion against years of underpayment, mistreatment, studio micromanagement, and public humiliation. What really drove them to MGM was Disney's greed. And the moment Jeremy Renner said what he said in that now viral interview, everything started to unravel.
I'm like, wow, it's going to take me twice the amount of work for half the amount of money. And so 8 months of my time, essentially. And to do it for half the amount. I'm like, I'm sorry. Why? Did you think I'm only half the Jeremy because I got ran over?
The unraveling began not with an explosion, but with a sigh. Brie Larson, sitting under hot press lights, leaned into the mic and gave a response that sent the internet into meltdown.
I don't know. Does anyone want me to do it again?
In just 10 words, she exposed the existential rot festering beneath the Marvel empire. Disillusionment, exhaustion, and resentment. This wasn't just a bad press moment. This was a confession, and it was one echoed by nearly every key Marvel actor since 2021. The cracks had been forming for years, but the facade of superhero unity had masked the growing discontent brewing behind the scenes. The contrast with Marvel's earlier days was heartbreaking. Remember when the cast was genuinely excited about the project?
This is Marvel's The Avengers, and The Avengers is what happens when Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, The Incredible Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Nick Fury form a team and a superhero team-up because the stakes have got so high and the world needs saving.
He kept going on about how fans are deeply in love with Marvel characters.
And I think what's so exciting about it is I sincerely believe the Iron Man film was so good, and Thor was so good, and Captain America was so good. So there's a whole group of people now who have fallen in love with these characters, and to see them together is going to be mind-blowing.
That enthusiasm was real back then, but something had fundamentally changed in the years that followed. Chris Hemsworth announced a career pause after revealing troubling genetic health risks, an announcement that came just weeks after Thor. Love and Thunder was mocked online for its shoddy VFX and chaotic tone. Robert Downey Jr., who once was the MCU, shifted entirely to non-Disney roles and prestige projects like Oppenheimer. But what no one realized was that this wasn't a quiet retirement from the Marvel machine. This was a collective exit strategy orchestrated in secret meetings and encrypted group chats. The signs were everywhere if you knew where to look. Jeremy Renner's frustration went deeper than just money, revealing the corporate mindset that had infected Disney.
And this is not Marvel, mind you, this is like this Disney, not even really Disney, it's just the penny pinchers, the accountants. I told them to go fly a kite.
Scarlett Johansson sued Disney over Black Widow's streaming release, and then vanished from the MCU entirely. Elizabeth Olsen publicly admitted she had no idea if she'd ever return, stating in interviews that she felt trapped by endless contract extensions she didn't know if she could say no to. One by one, the pillars cracked, and inside Disney's executive offices, panic set in. The irony was palpable. These were the same actors who once spoke glowingly about being part of the Disney family.
Well, I mean, I believe that Chris and I are now officially Disney employees. So we're so happy to be here. And also, having grown up on Disney, it's had a major influence on me in entertainment and lifestyle in a bunch of ways. So the whole thing just feels great.
How times had changed. The strategy was simple. Ride out the fatigue, blame superhero burnout, and quietly recast beloved characters with younger, cheaper alternatives. They floated rumors of a multiverse reboot that could justify recasting Iron Man with a different actor. They greenlit new projects with no original cast members, hoping nostalgia alone could do the heavy lifting. But what they didn't expect effect was that these actors were already negotiating a new universe. MGM Studios, under Amazon's streaming umbrella, had been watching from a distance as Disney's empire crumbled from within. They saw a brand bleeding talent faster than it could replace it, and they moved fast. The deal was unprecedented in Hollywood history. 8 former Marvel actors, 1 new cinematic universe, a franchise deal worth $800 million spread across 10 years, and most painfully for Disney, all creative rights retained by MGM, not the studio. No more studio micromanagement, no more fighting for back-end profits, total creative control. The most telling quote came from Scarlett Johansson herself in a private meeting that leaked almost immediately after the deal was announced. "We gave them a decade of our lives, and they treated us like replaceable action figures." This sentiment wasn't isolated. It was the rallying cry of an entire generation of actors who had built the most profitable franchise in cinema history, only to be discarded when they demanded basic respect and fair compensation. What followed was a coordinated PR blitz from Disney to downplay everything. Suddenly, unnamed insiders were telling Variety that the actors just needed a break from the intensity of blockbuster filmmaking. Disney's publicity machine worked overtime to frame the departures as natural career evolution rather than what they actually were, a mass exodus from a toxic work environment. But the damage was already done, and the foundation for an even more devastating revelation was already being laid. The breaking point. The mouse tried to bury it, but the truth has a way of surfacing. Disney's PR machine went into overdrive with anonymous sources, flattering leaks, and manufactured optimism, all designed to cover up one inescapable truth. The Avengers have left the building. And they didn't just leave quietly. They torched the exits on their way out, ensuring that the bridge between them and Disney would burn completely. What MGM Studios offered these actors wasn't just money, though the financial terms were staggering. It was liberation from a system that had chewed them up and spit them out despite generating billions in revenue. The $800 million deal represented more than just a contract. It was a direct slap to Kevin Feige's legacy and everything the Marvel Studios machine represented. But before we dive into the MGM salvation, we need to understand just how badly Disney had treated its female talent. The infamous Scarlett Johansson interview from 2012 set the tone for how Disney viewed its female stars.
Now, were you able to wear undergarments?
You're the 5th person that's asking
Well, no,
that to
because
me. What is going on? Since when did people start asking each other in interviews about their underwear?
The interviewer's persistence was beyond inappropriate.
Is it inappropriate?
To ask somebody what kind of underpants they wear?
I didn't ask you what kind.
You just asked me if I was wearing any.
Could you?
No, what do you wear
Could
underneath?
you?
He's
Like, what do you wear underneath something
Overalls.
like that? Do you wear clothes?
You wear dungarees. No, you can't wear clothes under it. It's like a wetsuit.
Okay.
Practically.
All right.
Scarlett's exasperation was palpable as the questions continued.
So you answered my question.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit more than a wetsuit. Was I wearing underwear? I mean, gosh. Ask Joss.
I did. I did.
You asked
him.
Joss what kind of underwear he wears?
No.
What kind of interview is this?
That clip sparked outrage, but behind the scenes, Disney reportedly cut ties with that particular outlet while never issuing a public apology. Scarlett's team asked that interviewers be vetted more carefully in the future, and Disney's solution was to limit her solo press appearances entirely to avoid controversy. This pattern of disrespect would continue for years. Meanwhile, Jeremy Renner's story became the poster child for Disney's contempt toward their established stars. His account of the Hawkeye Season 2 negotiations revealed the callous calculation behind Disney's decisions, but his love for the character made the betrayal even more painful.
I still love the character. I still love to do it, but I had to defend myself. I didn't ask for any more money, mind you, right? It just paid me what I made the first season. So it's a little disheartening that didn't happen, but that's fine. I'm happy to let that go because my body's probably thanking me, time and time again that I'm not doing it right now.
The cruelty of that offer, reducing payment to an actor who had nearly died in a tragic accident, crystallized everything wrong with Disney's approach to talent management. When Renner declined, Disney didn't negotiate or show appreciation for his decade of service. They simply ghosted him, moving forward with plans to replace Hawkeye with younger, cheaper alternatives. There was no farewell announcement, no tribute at D23, no acknowledgement of his contributions to the franchise's success. Even when discussing legitimate professional matters, the atmosphere was tense. Jeremy Renner's co-star had to deflect inappropriate questions about injuries.
I understand you got hurt pretty badly, though. How'd you do that?
Fighting her.
Oh.
And I hurt myself.
I
It
think
was-
I also-
I think like
yeah,
my
you were-
bowstring got stuck in my belt or something, and I twisted my neck wrong. It's really.
So
It's like
you
when you
didn't
like
hurt him.
dislocate
No, she
your
didn't hurt
shoulder
me.
taking off your socks.
Yeah,
It's really
exactly.
like not a good story
It's
at all.
not
Just
a
like
good look.
twisting
Yeah.
your neck or your
Yeah,
something like
totally.
that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The pattern extended beyond the core Avengers. Dave Bautista publicly expressed his relief at leaving the Drax character behind, telling GQ, "I don't want Drax to be my legacy. I want to do better things." Even Tom Holland, who should have represented the future of the MCU, grew tired of being what his team called Marvel's safety net, the actor they called in every time the franchise stumbled. These individual stories painted a picture of systematic disrespect that went far beyond simple contract negotiations. Disney had created a culture where established stars were viewed as expensive liabilities rather than valuable assets, where loyalty was rewarded with pay cuts and increased demands. The MGM deal represented more than just a new business opportunity. It was a chance for these actors to reclaim their dignity and demonstrate their worth in an environment that valued their contributions. As word of the deal spread through Hollywood, it became clear that Disney's problems extended far beyond losing a few actors. They had lost the respect of an entire industry. The Wall of Shame, Marvel's Hall of Broken Dreams. Before we examine the final collapse, we need to understand the full scope of Disney's talent destruction. The A-list departures were just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface lay a graveyard of careers derailed, promises broken, and dreams shattered by Marvel's relentless pursuit of profit over people. This is the story of every actor Marvel has screwed over, forgotten, or discarded along the way, and the visual effects crisis that finally brought the whole system crashing down. The visual effects crisis had been brewing for years, but it finally exploded into public view when overworked artists began speaking out about their treatment. The testimony was devastating.
Marvel has seen grown men punch walls and throw monitors from stress. I broke down a couple of times and have seen the strain it can put on marriages. But hey, the money was fantastic. F Marvel as a client, the credit name is not worth it.
This wasn't isolated testimony. Artist after artist came forward with similar accounts of impossible working conditions.
And I remember we literally brought in cots into the office. We would work, sprint over to 7-Eleven, grab a Slurpee, come back, work, crash on the cot for 90 minutes, back up, work.
The working conditions were described as systematically inhumane.
And there have been nightmare stories for years about artists working 18, 19, 20 hours a day. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You speak English.
Yeah, that's right. Monday, Tuesday, all the way through.
The systemic nature of the abuse became clear when industry veterans explained how Marvel had become the worst client in Hollywood.
Anyway, the big client now, obviously the biggest client in the industry is Marvel, with all their movies and Disney Plus shows and all that kind of stuff. So they're the ones giving out a lot of work. But with all that work comes a lot of frustration. That hasn't just been limited to Marvel. This has been a problem for over a decade. But the Marvel's the biggest player now.
Let's start with the obvious casualties. Terrence Howard, the original James Rhodes, was unceremoniously fired after Iron Man's success when he demanded fair compensation for the sequel. Disney's response? Replace him with Don Cheadle and pretend nothing happened. Howard later revealed that he was Marvel's highest paid actor for the first Iron Man film. But when the franchise became a guaranteed moneymaker, they decided his salary was too expensive. Edward Norton's Bruce Banner suffered a similar fate. After delivering a critically acclaimed performance in The Incredible Hulk, Norton was pushed out because he wanted creative input on the character's development. Disney branded him as difficult to work with, their standard character assassination technique for actors who dared to have opinions about their roles. Natalie Portman was so frustrated with her treatment during the Thor films that she effectively quit the MCU for nearly a decade. Her character Jane Foster was given nothing meaningful to do, reduced to a love interest who existed solely to react to Thor's adventures. When she finally returned for Thor: Love and Thunder, it was only after being guaranteed significant creative control and the promise that Jane would become the mighty Thor. Even then, her character was killed off, ensuring she could never return to demand better treatment. The international actors fared no better. Idris Elba publicly expressed his frustration with playing Heimdall, calling the experience torture due to the limited scope of the role and the restrictive costume requirements. Despite being one of Britain's most talented actors, Elba was reduced to standing on a bridge and looking serious for most of his MCU tenure. Mickey Rourke's experience as Whiplash in Iron Man 2 revealed Disney's contempt contempt for actor input in its rawest form. Rourke had developed an extensive backstory for the character and wanted to explore themes of Russian immigrant experience and family legacy. Disney stripped away most of his character development, reducing Whiplash to a generic villain with technological gadgets. The treatment of Hugo Weaving as Red Skull was particularly telling. Despite delivering a memorable performance as Captain America's primary nemesis, Weaving was so put off by Marvel's demands and compensation offers that he declined to return for future films. "It's not something I would want to do again," Weaving stated bluntly. Young actors face their own unique challenges. Asa Butterfield was reportedly close to landing the Spider-Man role before Tom Holland, but Marvel's demands for total control over his career and personal life scared him away. The studio wanted approval over his other projects, social media presence, and public appearances, essentially turning him into a Disney employee rather than an independent actor. Even supporting actors weren't safe from Marvel's mistreatment. Cobie Smulders' Maria Hill was supposed to be a significant player in the S.H.I.E.L.D. storylines, but her role was progressively diminished as Marvel focused on more marketable characters. Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury, despite being the connective tissue of the early MCU, was relegated to brief cameos and exposition delivery in later films. The pattern extended to directors and creative talent as well. Patty Jenkins was hired to direct Thor: The Dark World, but left due to creative differences, Marvel's euphemism for "we want a yes person, not an artist." Edgar Wright spent years developing Ant-Man only to be pushed out when Marvel demanded he conform to their house style. Perhaps most tellingly, many of these discarded actors have thrived elsewhere. Terrence Howard found success in Empire. Edward Norton returned to acclaimed independent films. Natalie Portman won an Oscar and built a successful production company. Their careers didn't suffer from leaving Marvel, they improved, suggesting that Disney's prestigious franchise was actually holding them back rather than elevating them. The MGM deal represents the culmination of this brewing resentment. The departing actors aren't just seeking better compensation, they're escaping a system that has consistently demonstrated its contempt for creative collaboration and artist dignity. Their exodus serves as a warning to every actor considering working with Disney. Success in the MCU comes at the cost of your artistic soul. The final collapse. This wasn't just a walkout, it was a coup. By the time fans realized what was happening, the Marvel Cinematic Universe had already been decapitated, its brightest stars stolen in broad daylight, its secrets bleeding out through anonymous interviews, public lawsuits, and internal leaks. The studio behind the Infinity Saga, behind Endgame, behind 28 interconnected blockbusters, was now being called the worst place to work in Hollywood, and the evidence was overwhelming. The moment that truly sealed Marvel's fate involved Tom Holland, the Golden Boy, Spider-Man, the bridge between Sony and Disney, the one character Disney couldn't afford to lose, and they lost him anyway. Sources close to the MGM deal confirm that Holland was approached in early 2025 with a revolutionary proposal, a franchise of original sci-fi films centered around a young hero with spider-like agility, but this time he wouldn't be wearing spandex or answering to studio executives. Zendaya played a crucial role in Holland's decision. After her own frustrations with being relegated to a glorified sidekick despite her character's potential, she encouraged Tom to take the leap. Her influence was significant. She had seen firsthand how Disney treated their talent, and she refused to watch the man she loved be ground down by the same machine that had frustrated her. When Marvel executives learned of Holland's negotiations with MGM, they panicked. Desperate meetings were called, and Bob Iger himself reportedly got involved in trying to retain Spider-Man. They offered Holland unprecedented creative control, producer credits, and even partial ownership of the character's merchandising rights. But it was too late. Holland's team delivered a devastating response. He was tired of being Marvel's safety net. They call him in every time the franchise stumbles, and it always stumbles. Then came the final humiliation, Scarlett Johansson's nuclear option. After joining MGM, she did something no one saw coming. She leaked the details of Disney's attempted NDA, a hush-money agreement designed to bury her Black Widow lawsuit and silence her forever. The documents, obtained by The Hollywood Reporter, revealed that Disney had offered her a 7-figure consulting deal with one specific requirement: never speak publicly about her experience with the studio. Scarlett's response was swift and brutal. She rejected the offer and made the entire proposal public. The leaked documents showed Disney's desperation to control the narrative around their talent departures. They were willing to pay millions just to keep their former stars quiet, suggesting they knew how damaging the truth would be if it ever came out. The moment those papers hit the internet, #DisneyExposed began trending worldwide. The hashtag remained active for 36 hours straight as fans, industry professionals, and media outlets shared their own stories of Disney's corporate overreach. Even traditional Disney allies in the entertainment entertainment press couldn't defend the company's actions. Throughout this crisis, Kevin Feige remained conspicuously silent. The man who had been the face of Marvel's success for over a decade disappeared from public view. No interviews, no conference appearances, no social media presence. Industry insiders suggested that Feige was either being silenced by Disney leadership or was preparing his own exit strategy. The evidence of Marvel's collapse was everywhere. The Marvels became one of the lowest-grossing MCU films in history. Secret Invasion was critically panned and ignored by audiences. Echo was dumped on Disney Plus with minimal marketing and generated less than 400,000 streams in its opening weekend, a catastrophic decline from the Netflix Marvel shows that regularly attracted millions of viewers. Meanwhile, over at MGM, the contrast couldn't have been starker. The lights were on, the cast was in rehearsals, and writers were being paid on time with reasonable deadlines. The new franchise, officially titled The Ascendants, represented everything Marvel had failed to become: a collaborative, creative environment where talent was respected and compensated fairly. The Ascendants wasn't just entertainment, it was a statement. Every character's backstory deliberately mirrored their MCU origins, while exploring darker, more complex themes. Hemsworth's character was a warlord fighting against an oppressive galactic monarchy that looked suspiciously like a critique of corporate entertainment empires. Johansson played a former assassin leading an underground rebellion against surveillance capitalism. Downey Jr.'s role as a disgraced tech mogul building a suit to escape the system he helped create was barely disguised commentary on his own relationship with Disney. The symbolic power of the Ascendants couldn't be ignored. These weren't just former Marvel actors starting over. They were survivors of a toxic system, building something better. Their exodus had sent shockwaves through Hollywood, inspiring other talent to demand better treatment and forcing studios to reconsider their approach to long-term contracts and creative control. This transformation represented more than just a changing of the guard in superhero entertainment. It marked a fundamental shift in the balance of power between artists and corporations. For over a decade, Disney had operated under the assumption that characters were more important than the actors who portrayed them, that audiences would accept any substitute as long as the costumes and logos remained the same. The MGM deal proved that assumption catastrophically wrong. The final irony was unmistakable. Disney's relentless pursuit of control had cost them the very thing they sought to control. In trying to own their talent completely, they had driven that talent away entirely. The House of Mouse had built the most successful entertainment franchise in history, only to watch it crumble because they forgot that behind every iconic character was a human being who deserved respect, fair compensation, and creative fulfillment. As the Ascendants prepared for production, and Disney scrambled to rebuild their shattered universe with unknown actors and recycled storylines, one thing became crystal clear: the age of Marvel dominance was over, and it was the artists, not the executives, who would define the future of entertainment. The revolution had begun, and this time, the heroes were winning. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.
Oh, now they will. The greatest thing that could ever have happened to Marvel was having Disney buy us.
At first, the creators of Marvel's legendary characters seemed thrilled about the merger with Disney. It felt like a dream come true. But over time, that excitement faded. Now, the tone has completely shifted.
Hi, heroes. This is Stan Lee coming at you. Want you to know, Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world.
The very people who gave life to these heroes are speaking out, sending a loud and clear message. Disrespect will not be tolerated. So what went wrong between Marvel's creators and the House of Mouse? The message that changed everything. Imagine if the most powerful entertainment corporation in the world was finally forced to face its own moral reckoning. It's May 2025, and what started as a grassroots rebellion by grieving families has grown into a movement that's reshaping the entire entertainment industry. These weren't just legal victories, they were declarations of independence from corporate tyranny. The thunderclap moment came when they stood up and said, "Enough!" Every major studio executive in Hollywood felt it. The creator families, armed with nothing but determination and the Copyright Act of 1976, had managed to make Disney, yes, the same Disney that owns ABC, ESPN, and controls almost 40% of the box office market blink. This wasn't David versus Goliath anymore. This was David assembling his own Avengers team.
It's a marriage made in heaven, and with all the power of Disney behind us, well, you see the results. You see movies like The Avengers, Iron Man, they're all tremendous hits.
So it was the luckiest thing in the world that Disney bought Marvel. The settlements of 2023 weren't just legal documents. They were surrender papers from a corporate empire that had finally been forced to acknowledge its creative foundation. When Steve Ditko's estate settled in December 2023 and the other creator estates in June 2023, they didn't just win money. They won something infinitely more valuable, the power to redefine what respect means in the entertainment industry. Let's be crystal clear about what happened here. For decades, Disney operated under a simple principle. We own what we buy, and what we own, we control absolutely. The idea that creators or their families might have ongoing rights was treated as a quaint notion from a bygone era. But these families, these real-life Avengers, proved that the principle was built on quicksand.
Kid, I'm Mickey Mouse. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Won't people think that's a lazy and desperate nostalgia-milking cash grab?
They'll think whatever I tell them to think. Want to be Dr. Doom?
Dr. Doom?
Hey, is there an echo in here or something? Yeah, Dr. Doom. I'll give you your own Avengers film. Hell, I'll even give you two.
This chilling portrayal of corporate arrogance in our source material perfectly captures the mentality that these families successfully challenged. What makes this transformation truly revolutionary is its timing. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has generated over $22.93 billion in box office revenue alone. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They represent the value of creative ideas that were once compensated at $20 per page. Imagine creating Iron Man and being told your contribution was worth the same as a pizza order in 1963. The psychological warfare these families endured was immense. Disney's strategy was obvious. Make it so painful, so expensive, so time-consuming to fight that surrender becomes preferable to justice. But they misunderstood something fundamental about creative families. These aren't venture capitalists motivated purely by profit. These are people fighting for their parents, grandparents' legacies. When Marvel sued the heirs using the work-for-hire argument, they essentially claimed that creativity has no ongoing value, that the act of imagination, of birthing cultural icons from nothing, was worth only the initial paycheck. The family's message in response was clear. Our parents created mythos that define modern culture. Their value extends far beyond what corporate America decided to pay them in the 1960s. The ripple effects are already transforming the industry landscape. Warner Brothers, seeing the writing on the wall, has reportedly begun proactive outreach to DC creator estates. Sony, facing its own Spider-Man rights challenges, is reconsidering how it treats creative legacies. Even Universal, which clutches its partial Hulk rights like a security blanket, knows that respect is now a business necessity, not a corporate nicety. The true power of this victory lies in what it symbolizes. These families essentially forced Disney to acknowledge that financial success must be shared with those who planted the seeds of that success. It's a principle that extends far beyond entertainment. In tech, in fashion, in any industry where creativity drives profit, the message is the same: respect the creator or face the consequences. Disney attempted to create a monopoly on pop culture mythology, only to be reminded that mythology belongs to the mythmakers first. What the creator families achieved goes beyond individual compensation. They've created a template for artistic justice in the corporate age. Every future creator entering Hollywood now knows they have ammunition if their legacy is disrespected. Every corporation knows that the cost of dishonoring creators' families has now been demonstrated in public, expensive litigation. The emotional impact cannot be overstated. These are children watching their parents' life work transformed into global phenomena. While being treated as legal obstacles to profit, the settlements represent more than financial resolution. They represent emotional justice for families who've carried the weight of feeling invisible in plain sight. For Marvel fans specifically, there's now a deeper emotional connection to every character on screen. Knowing that these characters' creators' families fought for recognition adds gravitas to every appearance of Iron Man, Spider-Man, or Doctor Strange. These aren't just CGI spectacles. They're the visual manifestations of a real-world battle for creative respect. The transformation in corporate culture doesn't stop at Disney's doorstep. The entire entertainment ecosystem is recalibrating. Streaming services are reconsidering creator contracts. Production companies are building more ethical frameworks. Even theme parks are examining how they honor the artists behind their attractions. The message has been received industry-wide. As new Marvel projects continue production, each carries the DNA of this struggle. Robert Downey Jr. returning as Dr. Doom isn't just a casting decision. It's happening in a world where creator families now have a seat at the table. The power dynamics have shifted irrevocably. The ultimate irony is that by forcing Disney to respect its its creative foundation, these families may have actually saved the Marvel brand's soul. Characters have deeper meaning when their creation stories include dignity and recognition. Audiences connect more powerfully when they know the architects of their myths are honored. Looking ahead, the industry faces a new paradigm. The creator families have proven that the little guy can win, that corporate giants can be held accountable, that creative justice is possible. They've transformed the entertainment industry's moral compass, one settlement at a time. This victory resonates beyond Hollywood. Every worker who's ever felt undervalued, every family that's fought for recognition, every artist who's wondered about their legacy, they all see themselves in these Marvel creator families. It's a universal story of standing up for human dignity in the face of corporate indifference. The message is clear and unmistakable. Respect is not negotiable. Creativity has eternal value, and families will fight for justice even against the most powerful corporations on Earth. The Avengers may save the world on screen, but their creators' families have saved something equally precious: the soul of artistic collaboration. This war between the Avengers and Disney isn't new. It's just the latest round in a silent battle that's been raging behind the scenes for years. The legal war behind closed doors. The battleground was set long before the public knew war had been declared. It's 2021. The MCU is riding high on Endgame's success. Disney executives are counting their billions. But in the shadows, copyright termination notices are being filed like grenades thrown into Disney's legal department. The countdown to corporate reckoning has begun, and nobody at Disney is prepared for what's coming. These weren't random families looking for a payday. These were the estates of Marvel's foundational architects, armed with a powerful weapon: the U.S. Copyright Act, the law that says after 35 years, creators can reclaim their work from corporate hands. Disney's response was swift and brutal preemptive lawsuits that screamed, "How dare you challenge our absolute ownership?" Let's talk about what really happened behind those mahogany doors. Steve Ditko, co-creator of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange; Don Heck, the artistic genius behind Iron Man and Black Widow; Gene Colan, who gave us Captain Marvel and Falcon. These names weren't just credits on old comics. They were the architects of what would become a $22 billion movie franchise. Yet Disney's legal strategy treated them like common thieves trying to steal Disney property. The psychological warfare was textbook corporate intimidation. Disney, with its virtually unlimited legal budget, structured its lawsuits to drain the estate's resources. They knew most families couldn't survive a protracted battle, but they miscalculated spectacularly. The legal arguments Disney employed were masterfully cynical. The work-for-hire doctrine was wielded like a blunt instrument. Their position: if you were paid a day rate in 1963, you forfeit all future rights forever. Period. No discussion, no acknowledgement that your creation would become worth billions, just a cold, corporate, "we paid you what we agreed." But here's what the lawsuits really revealed about Disney's corporate philosophy. In internal documents that came to light, the company's position was that these were annoyances to be eliminated through legal pressure, not creative partners to be respected, not foundation layers of their empire. Annoyances. That word alone cost Disney millions in public relations damage. The estates banded together in what became known as the Creator Coalition. They shared resources, coordinated legal strategies, and most importantly, shared emotional support. While Disney's lawyers processed these challenges as legal puzzles to solve, these families were fighting for their loved ones' legacies. The emotional stakes couldn't have been more asymmetrical. Consider the specific characters at stake. Iron Man had grossed over $8 billion in box office revenue alone. Spider-Man, with Tom Holland's portrayals, added another $6 billion to Disney's coffers, even with Sony's share. Black Widow, Hawkeye, Falcon, each represents hundreds of millions in revenue streams. Yet the families who created these icons had to fight tooth and nail just to be recognized as more than hired hands from the 1960s. The first settlement came in June 2023. Larry Lieber and the estates of Don Heck, Gene Colan, and Don Rico reached agreements with Marvel. The terms were sealed, but industry insiders suggest Disney finally realized that the cost of continued litigation exceeded the cost of fair compensation. The message was sent: challenge us, and you might just win. Steve Ditko's estate held out longer. The Spider-Man co-creators' representatives knew they held the strongest hand. Spider-Man wasn't just another character. He was Marvel's crown jewel, especially after the Sony partnership. The psychological pressure from Disney intensified, but Ditko's estate had learned from watching DC's treatment of Superman's creators. They refused to blink. The final settlement came in December 2023. Terms undisclosed, but the joint filing mentioned amicable resolution, corporate speak for "we paid what they demanded to make this go away." Disney had been forced into a corner: continue fighting and risk setting legal precedent that could affect their entire catalog catalog, or settle quietly and maintain the illusion of absolute control. Behind the scenes, industry lawyers report that Disney's legal teams were rattled. For decades, they'd operated under the assumption that their contracts were bulletproof. The creator lawsuits exposed vulnerabilities in a legal framework built on 1960 S-era understanding of intellectual property. The corporate machinery designed to crush opposition had encountered something it couldn't defeat: generational determination. The parallel legal battle with Interdigital Inc. over patent infringement in Marvel films demonstrates Disney's broader legal challenges. When multiple fronts open simultaneously, even Disney's vast resources become strained. The creator families were part of a larger pattern. Disney's aggressive business model was making enemies faster than it could eliminate them. What these lawsuits really uncovered was the human cost of corporate indifference. Legal documents detailed how creators worked in tiny apartments while Disney executives lived in mansions, how sketches worth billions were sold for grocery money, how the architects of modern mythology died without seeing their creations' true value. The settlements created a new legal framework for the industry. Entertainment lawyers report unprecedented interest in creator-friendly contracts following the Marvel resolutions. Studios are preemptively renegotiating old deals to avoid future lawsuits. The creator estates set a precedent that will echo through entertainment law for decades. Disney's attempt to paint these lawsuits as greedy families seeking undeserved riches backfired spectacularly. Public sentiment sided overwhelmingly with the creators' heirs. Social media campaigns highlighted the stark contrast between corporate profits and creator compensation. The narrative Disney tried to control slipped through their fingers like sand. The legal war revealed something fundamental about modern entertainment economics. The line between creator and corporation wasn't meant to be a chasm. These lawsuits forced acknowledgement that creative collaborations require ongoing respect, not just initial payment. Disney's resistance to this principle cost them far more than proactive fairness would have. As litigation dragged on, internal Disney documents suggested growing concern about brand damage. The company that built its empire on family values was publicly fighting the families of their creative foundations. The irony wasn't lost on the public. Every Spider-Man ticket sold came with questions about whether his creator's family was being fairly treated. The settlements represent more than legal resolution. They mark a turning point in corporate America's relationship with creative labor. If entertainment giants can be forced to respect creator legacies, what about tech innovators, fashion designers, software developers? The precedent stretches beyond Hollywood's borders. For the creator families, the legal journey was both vindication and ordeal. Years of stress, uncertainty, and public scrutiny took their toll, but they emerged victorious, having proven that David can indeed defeat Goliath when armed with justice and determination. Their message to future creators and heirs: your rights are worth fighting for, no matter how powerful the opposition. The closed-door negotiations that preceded the final settlements reportedly involved emotional appeals, not just financial discussions. Disney executives, perhaps for the first time, had to hear directly from families about what their loved ones' creations meant. The corporate machine was forced to confront the human hearts beating behind the balance sheets, the puppet strings of corporate control. Behind every Marvel movie, every Disney Plus series, every theme park attraction lies a shadowy world of corporate manipulation that would make any supervillain proud. The creator battles weren't isolated incidents. They were windows into a systematic approach to creative control that has redefined what it means to own art in the modern age. Welcome to Disney's real magic kingdom, where creativity is commoditized and artists become assets on a balance sheet. Let's expose the machinery. When Disney acquired Marvel in 2009, they weren't just buying characters. They were establishing a template for corporate content control that would reshape the entertainment industry. The VidAngel case from 2016 reveals this strategy perfectly. A small family-friendly streaming service trying to offer filtering technology gets crushed with a $62 million lawsuit. The message: innovation is only allowed when Disney controls it. The beauty of Disney's control mechanism lies in its multi-layered approach. First, buy the company outright. Then use legal warfare to establish dominance. Finally, reshape market expectations to their advantage. The creator families found themselves caught in this exact machinery, fighting not just for compensation, but for the very concept of creator autonomy.
I'd never heard that pretty little face. Do you moisturize?
Sometimes.
You bet your sweet ass you moisturize. There's probably all kinds of moisture on that face.
Thank you.
Of course, Mr. Stark. You're real handsome.
Shut your goddamn mouth, goofy!
This chilling exchange captures the psychological manipulation at the heart of corporate control, maintaining a friendly facade while wielding absolute power. The 2019 Fox acquisition showcases this strategy at scale. Disney didn't just buy Fox for X-Men and Fantastic Four rights. They eliminated a competitor that might have challenged their narrative control. Even the Department of Justice recognized the antitrust implications. When government regulators feel compelled to intervene, you know the power concentration has reached critical mass. But control isn't just about acquisition. It's about redefining value. Disney masterfully convinced the industry that characters created for $20 per page in 1963 had no ongoing value to their creators. That billion-dollar franchises built on these foundations owed nothing to the architects. It's economic gaslighting at corporate scale. The 2023 antitrust claims regarding streaming services expose another control mechanism. Disney wasn't content with owning content. They needed to control distribution channels. When consumers filed lawsuits alleging onerous contracts that stifled competition, U.S. District Judge Edward Davila validated these concerns. The pattern is clear. Total vertical integration equals total control. Consider the psychological warfare employed against creator families. Disney's strategy wasn't just legal. It was designed to exhaust and demoralize. By treating creative families as legal annoyances rather than valued partners, they signaled a corporate philosophy where control trumps respect. The message to future creators: your work has value, but you don't. The Redbox dispute from 2012 provides another illuminating example. Disney accused a DVD rental company of unfair competition, essentially claiming that even secondary distribution challenged their control. The pattern repeats: any business model not controlled by Disney becomes a target for elimination. What's particularly insidious about this control mechanism is its self-perpetuating nature. By buying critics, influencing media coverage, and shaping industry narratives, Disney creates an environment where challenging their control seems futile. They've convinced many that this level of corporate power is not just normal, but necessary for entertainment production.
Good work out there today, team.
Hulk smash criminals. Shame about all those apartment blocks, though.
Hulk was preventing future crime.
This dialogue perfectly encapsulates corporate doublespeak. We're heroes for eliminating competition before it threatens us. The creator settlements forced a crack in this control apparatus. For the first time, individual artist families proved they could challenge the machine and win. This wasn't just about money. It was about breaking the psychological hold that absolute corporate control had established over creative industries. Internal documents revealed during litigation exposed Disney's true philosophy. References to creators as contracted workers rather than creative partners showed how thoroughly dehumanized the creative process had become. Artists weren't collaborators in building mythologies. They were temporary employees whose relevance ended with their paychecks. The corporate control extends beyond just financial considerations. Disney has effectively created a mythological monopoly. By controlling both Marvel and potentially DC, had the Warner Brothers deal succeeded, they would have owned the modern American pantheon. These aren't just movie franchises. They're cultural touchstones that shape generational values and understanding. The settlements revealed another layer of control: information manipulation. When terms remained undisclosed and described as amicable, Disney maintained its preferred narrative while likely paying substantial sums behind closed doors. They control not just the content, but the story of the content's creation and ownership. What makes this control mechanism particularly dangerous is its invisibility to casual observers. Audiences see beloved characters and don't question the power structures behind them. The creator lawsuits pulled back the curtain on an industry where corporate control had calcified into creative tyranny. The ripple effects of challenging this control extend beyond entertainment. When creator families proved that corporate power could be questioned and changed, they inspired similar challenges across industries. The message resonated: no corporation, regardless of size or power, is above accountability to the human beings whose creativity fuels their empires. Disney's attempt to paint these legal challenges as threats to the entertainment industry's economic model backfired spectacularly. Instead, it exposed how that model relied on creative exploitation dressed up as business necessity. The settlements forced acknowledgement that sustainable success requires respecting, not erasing, creative origins. The control apparatus Disney built was designed to be impenetrable. Contracts so complex they intimidated challenge. Legal resources so vast they outmatched opposition. PR machinery so powerful it shaped public perception. Yet the creator families found the weak point. The court of public public opinion, and the principle of creative justice. Disney used to control creative output. We see a cautionary tale about corporate power in the creative industries. The settlements don't just represent legal victories. They represent the beginning of a recalibration where control shifts from absolute corporate power to balanced creative partnerships. Future creators and their families now understand that these strings can be cut, that the puppet can fight back. Disney's empire isn't built on contracts alone. It's built on creative minds that deserve recognition beyond their initial compensation. The creator battles proved that even Disney's sophisticated control system has vulnerabilities when faced with determined opposition and public scrutiny. In the end, the war between the Avengers and Disney wasn't just a legal battle. It was a powerful stand against a system that often treats creativity like a commodity. For years, Disney built its empire on the backs of beloved characters, unforgettable stories, and the brilliance of the people behind them. But when those same people asked for fairness, for recognition, for a piece of what they helped build, they were met with silence, red tape, and closed doors. What started as private negotiations turned into a public reckoning. The Avengers, both on screen and behind the scenes, became symbols of resistance, not to storytelling, but to the corporate machine that tried to control it. Families of creators, lawyers, and even actors stepped up, not just for money, but for legacy, for the right to say, this was ours too. And now, the ripple effects are impossible to ignore. Disney, once seen as untouchable, has had to face real questions about ownership, ethics, and the future of entertainment. Will this lead to a new era where creators have more power? Or will the mouse behind the curtain find new ways to tighten its grip? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the Avengers may have saved the universe on screen, but off-screen, they just might have saved the soul of Hollywood. What are your thoughts on the Avengers taking a stand against Disney? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more untold truths from behind the scenes, click on the cards on screen now.